So welcome. Hello, and welcome to another segment of Elder Abuse Virtual Coalition. My name is Elisa Gwilliam, and I have the pleasure to be talking to the Director of Orange County's Office of the Aging, Anne-Marie Maglione, and Professor of Psychology and Director for the Center of Aging and Disability Policy at Mount St. Mary's College, Dr. Larry Force. And our special guest today is caregiver Allison Grunberg, who is joining us with a little bit of an insight of what it's like for the caregiver of a person with elderness today. We'll come up with a new word for that, I think, as we go along. So today we're going to be talking about the role of the caregiver. And Anne-Marie, would you like to start us off?
I would. Allison, I'm so glad that you're here. The role that you play is so important. Everyone will be a caregiver at a point in their life, whether it's to take care of a child that's ill, a spouse, a parent. Everyone's going to be a caregiver, and it's a very, very difficult role. I was a caregiver for both of my parents, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done. You're trying to juggle your life, your job, and you're to take care of your parent. It's really difficult, and there's a reason why we've included this in our Elder Abuse Awareness Coalition, because people are at their wits' end. It's emotionally, physically, psychologically draining, and you just don't know when it's going to end. And the majority of the people, they're able to go out and go for a walk or do something. I think it's especially hard during COVID because, maybe somebody would say, I just want to go out to dinner. I just want to feel normal again and go out to dinner. Well, you can't, everybody's stuck in the house, which adds to it. And then there comes frustration. So I always think that the best way to take care of something is to bring it out in the open and discuss and, really kind of take that stigma away. There were times I was so mad at my mother, but yet I felt guilty about saying it because here she's so ill, she's driving me crazy. Well, this is a safe zone. We can talk about this because I think if you could talk about it, I think you help. And I'm really glad to be here.
Well, thank you for having me. Thanks, Anne-Marie.
And Allison, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up here?
Well, my mom is 86 years of age, and I do have siblings. One is deceased, but I have one in New York, two in New York, but far away in New York, opposed to where I'm living right now, and one down in South Carolina. But I've always been the one that has always reached out and tried to accommodate my mother, my father, and so forth, and facilitated in getting the best care or, making decisions and so forth. But now I'm at a point where my mom is deteriorating. She has congestive heart failure and she doesn't make the best decisions. And this is it has been happening, but you kind of dismiss a lot of things. So now my mother lives in the Poughkeepsie area, and I have always checked in on her and so forth, but things have gotten progressively worse with her health. So more of the responsibility has fallen on me. And I don't think I really saw it coming. Little things that I thought she was okay with, she really wasn't. I wasn't really looking at her finances and what she was doing or her health decisions and so forth. And I had mentioned prior when we were speaking, I think when you're the child, you don't see this really coming. I've said this a lot in my life. When you're in the eye of the hurricane, you don't see the storm around you. I'm like, okay, so I've always been financially secure in my life. I've made my way, and I've always tried to make things comfortable for her. But it just. But my health had taken a hit. I do have multiple sclerosis. I'm 56. I'm trying to, take care of my own health so I don't become a burden on anybody at any point. So now on top of it, I have my mom who, and in reality, yeah, she's on the last stages of her life, and that it just is. And I'm not meaning to sound horrible, but it just is. The quality of her life and how she wants to participate in life. Nothing has changed. She was not a big participator in her life, and the burden is falling on me. But I can't care more than other people care. You know, I can only do so much. But
You know, could I just say something? I love that quote that you just said. I can't care for more than other people care. You know, I mean, I think, you know, we were talking before Alyssa started to record this with a video cast, but when families work, they really work. And when families don't work, they really don't work. And I've witnessed families hugging each other in the parking lots of nursing homes, and I've witnessed families slugging each other. And I'm not kidding about that, in the parking lots. You know, and I think your voice is so important, because as Anne Marie said, you know, we had all this content knowledge, and what we wanted to be able to do was get it out through to individuals and families and agencies. And that's why we created this Elder Abuse Awareness Virtual Coalition. But we also wanted to embed in there the voice of the caregiver, you know, and as you said, you know, the impact that it has on you. You know, one of the things we talk about in our field is the fact that you can't help somebody else if you can't help yourself. You know,
and that's huge. That's huge. Like, I have to walk away when she gets abusive. I understand she's frustrated. I understand her life has changed, but it's either me or nobody, and I've pointed that out. So you have a choice. You don't have to have me, but I'll make sure you're taken care of. It is. Like I said, I think I would have been better off if I took care of somebody that I didn't know.
Oh, yeah, yeah, because you don't have an emotional component attached to it. The big thing.
That's really that's an outstanding point. You know, the other thing that you reference is the fact that you didn't see it coming. But I can tell you that from what I know and what I witnessed is that the difference between husbands caring for wives, wives caring for husbands, and adult children caring for adult parents. When you talk to wives about caregiving for their husbands, a lot of times they don't even know what you're talking about, because they've been doing a lot of those things all the way through their life. When you talk to husbands, the one study I was involved in, husbands thought that caregiving really, what they thought that what their definition of caregiving is they were driving. As long as they could drive their person to doctor's appointments and things like that, it was only when they could no longer drive did they really feel the need for outside services. But adult children, they could almost tell you what they were wearing when they found out they were going to be, you know, people are planning to retire, people are planning to move, and the next thing you know, there's a knock on the door, and it's your aging parents. You almost remember that, you remember the day, you almost remember what you were wearing. I mean, it's such a you know, and Anne Marie said something at the beginning, which I think, you know, really needs to be amplified. We're all going to be caregivers. I mean, caregiving is a developmental part of life, you know, and I think that, you know, the idea is, how do you prepare for that? You know, you said you had access to resources, you would care for her, you know, you would make sure care was provided. But I think this idea that caregiving is just something that happens for a few people, I don't think that's true. I think it's a natural part of life, because we're all living longer.
Well, so I if you could picture, like, take like 100 straws and you pull one out, and I said, how many straws are there? Well, you knew there was 100, and you didn't know I pulled one out. You'd say 100. And slowly, one straw at a time, until there's like a little bit, and like, well, obviously there's 25 straws. And this is what happens with older folks. Like, things start going away and you don't actually realize it. Like, I noticed, like, I used to take her caregiving. I would pick her up and take her to lunch 2 or 3 times a week. And then that she just stopped doing. That's a form of caregiving, because I wanted to make sure she saw people and she was out and so forth. Social a little bit. She's not a very social person. So that went away, you know, not looking at her bills, like, and I should have been, but there's no signal. It's like, okay, you got to start doing this now. And then until things start getting really messed up. And then the health, ending in and out of hospitals, and even expecting them to come through. I didn't understand, like, having an operation in your 80s, and if you never had one before, what that entails, and how you don't go back to baseline. Delirium sets in. This is all new.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and your parent is not that parent anymore. I'm changing diapers, you know. She doesn't want me to do that, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't really want to do it either. You know, but you do it. But it's
Yeah.
like, you know, you have to have these conversations. I noticed there's urine smell in the apartment. My mother's super clean, but you don't want to embarrass them. You don't want to take things away from them because it's still your mother. You know, she has this very strong Scottish pride in her, and so you don't bring it up. But when it gets to the point where, like, all right, this is not going to be a thing anymore. Like I was just talking about, she lost her card, and it turned into a big deal, and I shouldn't even have left it there, apparently. Something
Right.
simple like that. But like I said, it's this big bunch of stuff. You take one out at a time, and then all of a sudden, like, wow, I didn't realize, like, you got
And then
old.
it's so common, you know, Allison, when I was going through it, and I'm one of 5, and 3 of my siblings were great. As a matter of fact, I probably at 2 a.m. one day, when I was writing an email about my mother's care, I realized that the first initials of our name, the acronym was TEAM. And I realized it really took a team to take care of our parents. And, you know, and then we had one sister that couldn't, wouldn't, whatever, was not in there. So it was really the 4 of us. And they wanted me to take the lead because I was in the aging field. I will tell you, everything I knew, I didn't take the emotional component to it. So I felt like I was going into this blind exactly the same way that you were. I thought, I know all the services, I know the numbers to call, I know the services to get, but I forgot that this is my dad, you know, and all of a sudden, like you said, you know, I'm treating him like a child. And it's really, really difficult. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that, because if you can acknowledge it, then you're like, okay, I know this is supposed to happen. But like you said, in hindsight, of course, the signs were there, but I didn't see them either. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? I can't believe this just happened.
Yeah, and it's your field, and you were like, wow, yeah, right in front
You know,
of
I wrote an article years ago about different styles of caregiving in families, and I called it Heroes, Martyrs, and Snakes, adult caregiving. So the heroes did it and just did it.
Right.
The martyrs did it and let everybody know that they were doing it. And the snakes slithered away. But then I realized that there was another group out there that I had not identified, and I rewrote the article and I called it Heroes, Martyrs, Snakes, and the Devastated. And the heroes did it because they did it. The martyrs did it and let everybody know they were doing it. The snakes slithered away. But there was another group that wasn't present, not because they weren't snakes, but because they were so devastated. They didn't know how to handle it.
Right.
You know, even when my brother and I, because I've worked in state institutions, I've seen, witnessed, and participated in people that have aberrant, self-destructive, self-abusive behavior, and, you know, behavior you couldn't even believe. But he's not in that arena. So when he would see my mother do parts of that Alzheimer dance, you know, with the delusions, and we know that, you know, you talked about, I had an experience when the kids were younger. My mother calls me and says she lost her eyeglasses. Okay. Next day she calls, she lost her credit card. I'm thinking, maybe this is why I got in this field. So I take the kids down there. They were young. I said, we're going to go down and see grandma, make her laugh. She lost her eyeglasses and her credit card. I'll give you $5 if you find it. They run down there. They run all around the house. They can't find it. I'm coming home thinking, you know, is this the beginning of the beginning? I get home. There's an answering machine. My mother, Larry, listen, after you and the boys left, I found my eyeglasses and my credit card. However, you left your wallet and your checkbook here. You know, and the fact is, you know, memory loss is natural. But
and your kids were saying, is this the beginning for us?
right. I think it might be, but at least I remember that thing. But Allison, maybe you could talk a little bit about when you noticed and what you did as far as accessing outside help. Because I think that, you know, as we talked about, you know, off camera, is that Anne-Marie is a wizard with this stuff. So not only will she be a tremendous contact for you, but also for your friends and your network. But what did you do and how did you go
So
about it?
I did contact the Office of the Aged in Poughkeepsie. And I think they were having, well, I know they were having staffing problems. So my mom gets, she gets assistance and things were expiring. Now, I do not know anything about these things. So I needed someone to help fill out paperwork, and I brought everything there and so forth. But things got jumbled up there because somebody had left and her stuff it wasn't, nothing was filed and so forth. I ran into a brick wall. I'm not going to lie. I actually had to get in contact with the county executive. And I was very upset because they were very short-staffed over there. Then there was enrollment, but I needed help filling out paperwork. I didn't even know what she was eligible for and so forth. Now, he helped. He had given my name to Tancredi, and he had called me, and they helped me along the way and so forth, and they gave me direction. Another problem being is sometimes you do these things for your elderly person, and they don't want to accept the help. And that runs into, I do all this footwork prior, like Office of the Agent, before she got to this point, was very helpful. I wanted to get her in a balance class. I wanted her to get her more social. She canceled everything. She was canceling things. She doesn't want to be involved. And I'm like, and I'm wasting all this time going there and so forth. The Office of the Agent was helpful. They give you a lot of resources and so forth. But when it came the particular time of my inquiry and the help that I needed, just was really bad timing. And I get that. Okay. But I don't know any of these things. So, and then I would reach out to friends. Oh, you have an elderly person. What did you do? And so forth. And my mother's Luther. No, she was helping me out, and she did keep good records. So that was easier for me. But there's definitely a learning curve here.
Yeah.
And so forth.
When you talk about, and I'm sorry that you had that experience, and I think we have a great team, but I'm not going to lie. There may be times that, somebody dropped the ball. So I always say you have to call back again. Like, this you're going to get.
I am one of those people. I will get your name, I'll get your birthday, and I call for people, and I make notice all the time.
The squeaky wheel gets the oil. And I have to tell you, Allison, I was laughing when you were talking. My parents, I'm from Dutchess County. My parents lived in Dutchess County, and I had an aide set up for my dad because my dad was the one that was starting to fail. My mother was an unwilling caregiver. And so from afar, I had an aide that would come in 3 hours, 2 days a week. And it was working out really well, although my mother kept firing the aide. So I was just like, Mom, the aide is not for you. The aide is for Dad. And she was just like, she comes at 9 o'clock. I don't like to get up till like 9, have my coffee. I don't want a stranger in the house. But my dad always got up at 7. So I'm like, well, but Ma, so I understand your frustration. We actually had to set something up that I had to tell the aide, you don't get fired unless I fire you. So if my mother fires you, and she will, call me, and then I'll go over and straighten it out. So, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing. She wants somebody, she doesn't want me to shower her. She wants to get, but she'll have someone else. And then she doesn't want someone in the house. I'm like, well, you have to be, Mom, you're taking a shower. That's just what's going to happen.
Right.
It's the same thing. And I get it. Do you want someone, she lives in a small apartment, you want someone sitting on a couch for 3 hours staring at you? Probably not.
Exactly. And, it's so, we specifically want to do this week because this is Mother's Day week. Mother's Day is next weekend. And, just to talk about the different dynamics of just the lifespan, how it really is, it's kind of like a bell jar. And now that you're the parent and you're trying to be respectful of your mother, but yet you have to be the one that makes the decisions. And then sometimes, I remember I would snap and then I'd feel guilty, but she was being so difficult. So So I get
Well,
what
she said, my mother made a comment. She said, you know, you're good at this. You like doing this? And I looked at her and I go, I absolutely don't like doing this. I do it because I have to do it and there's no one else here. I said, I will do it. I said, but you think I want to do this? No. I mean, I love you. I'll help you, but this is not something I want to sign up for here.
doing, you know.
You know, as you're talking, one of the things that came up is that my mother would repeat herself in the last stages of her life. I mean, I'm not talking about once or twice. I'm talking about whenever I would go see her, which is 3-4 times a week, she was in a nursing home because she had fallen into a shower and fractured her neck and had recovered from that. But there was no way she could live independently. And I said, look, come and live with us. She's like, I'm not going to the country, because she was, from Mount Vernon. So we ended up going to St. Cabrini's in Dobbs Ferry. And she would riddle me with the same questions all the time. How are the boys doing? Boys are great. Boys married yet? No. Any girlfriends? No. So I answered the question. Boys married yet? No. Any girlfriends? No. And I'm sitting there one day and I have my iPad and I was looking at photos and she was sitting next to me and she looked at the photo and it was a photo of the past, earlier. And we had a tremendous conversation that was so reality based about the photo and the picture and the memory. So whenever I would go to the nursing home, I'd bring my iPad with the photos on it and I'd hit them. And then the next thing I know, we'd be talking about these things, because we know that people with, Alzheimer's or certain forms of dementia, they may not be able to process the immediate memory, but the longer term memory is intact. So there are different tools and resources. I encourage people to flood their family member with music, not music of the present, but music of the past.
That's a big...
There are things out there. There are resources, and as I always tell people, the entry into the system is through the Office for Aging. And even as you said at the beginning, it was tough. You reached out, you advocated. But then you also talked about the fact that they were present for you and helping you access other services. I mean, it's a process. And I think that, the thing that you bring to the table is your personality construct of advocacy. Like you said, I'm not going to let go. I'm going to find out when their birthday is. I'm going to continue to call until I get an answer. And that's a real gift for you and for your mother.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, and wait, she does throw that in my face. You're really pushy. You can be mean, Larry. She can be a little mean sometimes.
What's also really helpful is we have support groups, and we're actually doing them virtually now, because now more than ever, caregivers really need the support. And I remember going, again, I work for Office for the Aging. I would go and speak at them, but they never participated, if you will. And I went once, and I don't know if I can say this, but it was kind of like a bitch session. I don't know if I can say that word, but I just said it. But it was so cathartic for me, because it didn't solve my problems. I was still going back to the same old, but I felt better that, it wasn't me. This is just something that I have to go through. So we recommend that also, is to go to support groups. And if I can just do a little advertisement, that to reach Office for the Aging, go through our New York Connects, which is our single point of entry. It's 845-615-3710. You're going to reach a live person. If for whatever reason you don't get the answer you want, call back and we'll take care of it for you.
But that point that you just made really needs to be reinforced. And what's the point? You don't have to do this alone.
Right.
And whether it be through a formal agency connection or a support group that you're sponsoring, or the Alzheimer's Association, depending upon what the issue is. But you do not have to do this alone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's one thing. Like being, like I had mentioned, the Scottish Norwegian, like we were never tight. Like we're very waspy, and Italians could be like this. We were always like this, But I made my own tribe. And I have a fantastic support group with my children, my husband, my friends, and, you know, and it's intellectual conversation, and it's, you know, we hear each other, we listen, and we do get that support. Like even when the girls, they live abroad, they call her, you know, which is really important. It can't just be me. And I'm so happy that they do that. They take it upon themselves. Like we were not a close tribe, my family. And it's so nice that I made that for me, because that to me was the most important. I have 3 daughters. Someone's changing my diaper. That's all I have to say. I arranged it that way.
Right. You did a good job. That's nice.
So before we start wrapping this up, Allison, and I know Larry, you wrote the book Detoxing for Caregivers. Is there anything, advice you would give to a caregiver out there who's maybe struggling or new to this situation on taking care of themselves?
Well, I mean, I think the main theme is to be able to not lose yourself in this mix. You know, the other thing is, you know, we always talk about the negative side of caregiving. I think the other part of it is that caregiving has a strength too, because it builds up resiliency. It really does. Even though, like, when you're in the midst of it, you're thinking, oh no, this is not resilient. But you really, there's a strength side of being a caregiver too. And Allison, you so well represent that.
Thank you.
So in reference to, what would you recommend to somebody that's just entering this arena? Because now you're in it.
I would say reach out to the office of the agent. And if you do not get the answers or the support, keep trying. There's always somebody that will help. There is. And if I wasn't ringing the phone all the time or showing up there before they even opened, you know, you'll get what you need. People get sick of looking at you. You got to try. You have to show up and try. And this is what I told my kids, and I tell everybody: show up. Just show up. Show up to your parents. Show up at the center. Whatever. Just show up. Show up for yourself. Yeah, that's my advice. Show up.
So
And Amber, do you want to give that number again?
Yes, it's New York Connects. It's 845-615-3710. And, you know, we've been talking through this segment, we've been talking about a lot of the emotional parts of it. I got a call this weekend from a woman whose 3 siblings are taking care of mom. One of the siblings just had mom move in with them 2 months ago, and they've cleaned out $125,000 out of her savings. And the sister felt that, you know, listen, mom's living here. I got to charge her rent. She's eating. It's not for free. This is elder abuse. So we gave them the Adult Protective Service number, because you can't do that. You have to be fair with the family. The mom doesn't know what's going on. She has dementia. If you have a situation like that you just don't know what to do, again, give us a call. Or call Adult Protective Services, which is 845-291-2800. Hopefully you won't have that, but there is somebody there that can help you.
Thank you, because that is really important in what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
So anybody have a final comment before we say goodbye?
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. And Allison, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking me. I appreciate it.
This is so wonderful. And I'll send you my information if I can help in any way.
That sounds great. I really would appreciate that. Sure. Beautiful. Thanks, Anne-Marie.
Take care.
Thank you guys for joining us today. You've been listening to the Elder Abuse Awareness Virtual Coalition. If you want to hear this program again or share it with friends, even comment on it, you can do so by logging on to our website, www.elderabuseawarenessvirtualcoalition.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Make sure to sign up for our newsletter on our website as well. Well, thank you again, and I look forward to hearing from you all real soon.
Thanks, Elisa.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.